Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's office hours. I'm going to give just another minute for people to jump in, but I do appreciate everybody that's attending today. So again, we'll give just everybody just another minute and then we'll kick things off. All right, well, we'll let others settle in as they need, but we'll kick things off today. First, introduce myself for anybody that might be joining our office hours for the first time. My name's Brian Doyle. I'm one of the co-founders here at vCIOToolbox, and each Tuesday we take a subject within the system. It could be some theory, it could be a how-to on how to utilize the product, or work on developing your QBRs or some other component within the system. And we open it up as office hours and do a little bit of a mini training. After that mini training, we're going to jump into an Ask Me Anything session. So if you do have any questions, I request that you drop them into the Q&A section. We'll be happy to answer those, either if they're pertinent to what we're discussing right there on the spot, or I will hold those questions for the Ask Me Anything session. And that could be about anything that you've got a question on a vCIOToolbox. It doesn't have to be just around the subject matter that we're covering for that day. And today, what we're going to be covering is how to structure your client meeting. So as many of you know, we have a couple different ways you can conduct your meeting with your customer. You can use a traditional paper report, certainly, to guide a meeting. But with more and more folks doing these sessions across a Teams or a Zoom link like this one, or having access to presentation tools when they do meet with their customer, we really suggest using, whenever possible, the presentation side of the system. And that's really what we're going to go over today, how you can use that presentation side of the system to really deliver your meetings and be very interactive with your customers in the process. So with that said, I'm going to jump over to my application now. And we'll jump into the system and get started. So when you come into your system, there's a couple ways to get into your meeting view. If you log in the traditional way from our normal login screen, you can click up here on the right-hand side to get into the meeting view for your customer. You can also get to it directly from the login screen itself. Many folks are not aware of this function, and I'm just going to pull this over in another browser so you can see it. But when you come into the login here, you'll notice that we have a button that says Login to Meeting View. If you want to go, if you're at a customer site or you want to log in directly to it, just click that box and it will take you here to the Meeting View page. Now, on this Meeting View page, you'll notice that you've got access to two modules within the system. You can toggle between QBR and GRC, Governance, Risk, and Compliance, depending on what your meeting requirements are. When you go to kick off a meeting, before you even get started with your customer, you're going to search for your customer by name. The reason we do a search as opposed to the laundry list of customers you see on the administrative side, oops, and I got logged out since my last meeting. My apologies, guys. When I come in here, the reason we do this is so you don't expose your entire client list, especially if the customer already has, line of sight on your view. Once I find my customer, it brings me to the meeting view itself. And when I come in here, usually where I like to start with my customers is by setting an agenda. Now, the best practice behind why I like to set the agenda is really built around helping the customer understand what's going to be conducted in this meeting. And also for myself, it's a point to start gaining some control of the meeting. I'm sure you have all been in the situation where a meeting can take a right-hand turn. Somebody brings up yesterday's ticket or last week's problem. And next thing you know, you've covered nothing on your agenda. So by having everybody come to the agenda space, especially in a Zoom and Teams session like this one, it allows me to gain control by kind of dictating out what we're going to be covering during this meeting. You'll see that in my standard agenda, there is a number of interactive components as well. The customer will be able to tell us what they'd like, what's going on in their business in the business review. We're going to engage them each step of the way, but it really is letting them know that, hey, this meeting's about the greater good. It's a bit strategic session for us to get a better understanding of your business. and really better be able to understand where you're trying to go. Now, just functionally, guys, these meeting agendas are adjustable. If you set a standard meeting agenda like I have here and save it as the master agenda template, every time you go into a customer, you can click on use master agenda template and you'll be greeted with this language. From there, you can customize as you see fit around it. So if you want to add last month's minutes to this here, or some other important information you want to share at the onset of the meeting, you can do so. And that will all come right up here within our page. So from this point forward, I'm really going to kind of present as if I'm presenting to a customer and introduce each section as I would to a customer that I'm bringing formally into the vCIOToolbox process. So, after we go through the meeting review, I can then highlight some of the things that we did so you can see where the interactivity is. But I really want to make sure that I kind of take this start to finish as if I was presenting to a customer. So what I'm doing here, so what I'll do first is say, hey, Mr. Customer, thank you very much for joining us today. Here at vCIOToolbox, we're taking a new approach to how we're doing our business reviews with our clients. We want to make sure they become more standard, that we're able to convey information in the same way from meeting period to meeting period to you so it's easy to follow along. And we want to make sure that we're really focusing on you as the client and less about what we have done specifically, as we may have done in some of our previous reviews. Now, to kick things off today, I've scheduled out our meeting agenda. I want to use this agenda because I really want to stay focused on the big picture with you, get an understanding where you're trying to take your business, and make sure that we use the time that we have allotted together to hit all the different things that we're going to cover today. If you have any questions about, tickets from the last week or two or any long-standing problems, why don't we table those to the end of our call today, Mr. Customer, and we can go through it, or schedule a meeting with the right parties so we can make sure that we're maximizing the time of all those attending today. Now, you'll see that kind of my meeting agenda for this meeting is first, I want to just catch up with you. Tell me a little bit about what's been changing in your business, any new changes, any key changes within personnel would be important for us to know as well. Just anything that you may want to share about what's developed since our last time together. Then we're going to spend some time and I'm going to introduce you to our client strategy component of this system. We really want to be a better partner to you by better understanding where you're trying to take your business. And we want you to have some checks and balances in the process. And that's where the client strategy review comes into play. From there, we'll take a look at our scorecard, which identifies where we have gaps in process, system security, and training. And then we're going to go into budgeting and really take a look at your technology plan and roadmap so you can see a multi-year view of what steps you may need to take to keep your technology both current, operational, and efficient for your business. When we're done here, we'll make sure that we review any of the action items that came out of our meeting. And then if we have time, we'll kind of open up the floor for Q&A on anything that you have that you'd like to discuss. We all good with that agenda? Assume acceptance and move on. From here, first though, what I'd like to do, and actually I meant to be in the QBR side of this, guys, I apologize. From here, I move into the dashboard. In our standard QBR dashboard, we have some executive level viewpoints. So what I'd like to, the way I usually introduce this is our dashboard. And here on the dashboard, we're keeping track of some of the critical KPIs, key performance indicators in your environment. You'll notice that on the top row, we've got some numeric values here. Your IT review score is a 97 right now. That's based on the assessment we undertake. And that is in a fairly good range. We'll go a little bit deeper into that in a moment. Your Microsoft Secure Score represents the security of your Microsoft Office 365 services. And you'll see down below here in this grid, there's some room for improvement. Currently, your score is at 2835, but from a points value, you've got 65 points out of an entirety of 231. So we'll be talking later when we talk about our recommendations, some steps you can take to tighten that gap and strengthen the security in your Office 365 environment. The strategy score, when we build out our strategic plan, will really help you understand where are we in the process of delivering the technology as it relates to your strategic plan. And this is where we're going to be able to show you alignment, progress, and then ultimately, show you where we are in the process long-term at any given time. This represents the amount of projects that are still remaining in your current year forecast. Here's the gaps we've identified. We've got 28 different gaps we've identified within your environment as part of our assessment. Currently, you have no assets out of warranty. And then your MFA score is within range. Guys, I just want to let all of you know this, that is going to be changing to a percentage-based score in our next release. And then finally, we've got more active users than licensed users. So this is an area where we can potentially drive some savings by getting that licensing in line. Now, what you want to really share on this dashboard is really up to you, but that's kind of a high level executive view of what's going on, where we are kind of in our recommendations. Most of our recommendations are adopted, but we've got a few that we might have to discuss, priorities, and so forth. So very high level dashboard. Usually I'll pick 2 or 3 points there. From there, I'll go into strategy. Now, this is critical. A lot of our customers do not know us for strategy. They really look at us as an operational partner. But really, our role is to be an operational and leadership partner, especially to those small and mid-sized companies that do not have that type of leadership present on their team. So I really, in this first meeting with the customer, spend some time discussing strategy. And what I'll say to them is, what you're seeing here is our strategic plan. This is an area that we're going to collaborate so we understand what are the key objectives you're going for and what are the obstacles in the way of the success of your business. It's also our responsibility as your leadership partner to bring the IT goals for you to consider into this plan. Then at that stage, you can adopt those goals and we'll work together to build out the business goals and business challenges that you've put in here. Now, why are we doing this? One, we want to build more transparency into the relationship. You'll notice below some of the goals that I've created already for us to discuss today, I've aligned a couple of the projects to those goals. These projects are projects that you'll see more detail about when we get to our roadmap and recommendations. But what we want to really have you be able to see is what are the projects that are helping me support each goal and where are we in the process of delivering it? We want you to know that technology is helping you move your business forward, and where we are in the process of delivering, it's critical for you understanding where the gaps may still exist. In addition to that, it serves as a litmus test for ourselves. So now when we make a recommendation, if we can't show that it supports a goal or a challenge and is going to help you overcome or achieve those, it's probably something that shouldn't be part of our roadmap at this stage. So this is a way we can build a little bit more transparency in our relationship, help you have a little bit more confidence in the recommendations that we put together, and not buy from us just on blind faith. As much as we love the trust you instill in us, we want you to have a voice in making these decisions as well, Mr. Customer. The final thing that this process does is when we get to the actual recommendations and look at each one by one, there you'll be able to see collectively what goals and what challenges are being satisfied or at least contributed to as part of that delivery of that project. And now you can make a more informed decision about go or no go and the importance to your business as well. Now, as we start moving from meeting to meeting, I keep mentioning progress. Here you'll see that where the green check marks are, these are the projects that you formally adopted into the plan. What that basically means is you agree it's something we should be moving towards. When we get to that point in the process, it's probably something that we'll quote and deliver. And then as we deliver projects, you'll get the racing flags attached to these projects. This helps you see very visually exactly which ones have completed. And now that's what drives up our progress gauges over here on the left-hand side, letting us know where we are in the process of satisfying this client strategic plan. Again, this plan is something we're going to build annually. We'll refresh it each year. There may be goals that never go away, like ensuring strong security posture, but it gives us an opportunity to remove some of the projects that we've satisfied and reset the clock as well. Now, Mr. Customer, I've built a few business goals and business challenges here for you to look at. If you think that they're on track, great. If we need to modify them, let me know, and we can do that right now by simply editing these. Or if it totally missed the mark, we'll remove them from the plan. After this meeting's over, I'm going to be sending you a short survey called Business Insights. Here, this will let you capture any goals or challenges that we don't add to your plan today. And it's also going to give you an opportunity to share some other information with us we might not cover. How do you feel about the technology serving you and your business? How do you feel about our services at a variety of levels? How do you feel about risk and confidence in the technology carrying you forward? This is information that will help us better deliver to you. And again, the whole goal of the strategic process is transparency and building a stronger relationship. Questions? Assume no. We move into our scorecard. Now, Mr. Customer, this scorecard reflects where we've got gaps in the process. You'll see overall we're doing pretty solid here, but we are starting to fall in the warning zone around physical hardware. We've got a number of machines that are not up to date. We have some operating systems that need to be improved upon. And down here in network infrastructure, we really have some challenges on our firewalls that we're going to look at as we look at our recommendations. So we're really able to give our customers a deep dive on each one of these topics individually, and then look, even when we're scoring well, where the problems might live deeper down within that assessment. Now, depending on your audience, guys, we can go straight from scorecard to roadmap if it's a small business audience. If you're in a co-managed environment or you want to drill into a specific problem specifically, you can go into the exception report. This is where all the supporting detail lives. You'll notice that when we default the default view will show you just the things that did not score positively. So anything with a negative best practice, vulnerability, or risk rating, and you will have those here. Over here in the view all side, you'll see the full report. Again, if you're with a small to mid-sized business customer, know those bullet points of where your challenges are and discuss it as part of the scorecard, then move into the roadmap. The exceptions report will make their eyes glaze over. But if you are with an IT staff, you're doing a co-managed situation, you probably will want to do the deep dive there. Now, after I introduce the scorecard, I come into the roadmap. And here what I share with the customer is very simple. Hey, Mr. Customer, this is a 50,000-foot view of your entire technology plan. Here, what you're seeing is your roadmap, and your roadmap spans, in this case, 4 different calendar years. You'll note that you've got your agreements as part of this roadmap as well, so you can see some of the spend you currently incur today. And then we've got the different projects that you need to consider as part of this plan as we move forward. Each is color cataloged to the category it fits into. And if you have any questions on any of these, I can share with you some of the detail behind it. Now, while this gives you a visual view of your timeline, Mr. Customer, what's probably more important to you is the breakdown of how that budget kind of works over the next few years. Here we've built into your plan all the different recommendations that we have that have tied back to your strategic plan, and we're showing you exactly where they need to take place based on our view of priority and severity. You'll notice here as you go through this, I'm able to share with you now inflection points. So you can really understand not only what are you going to need in a calendar year in terms of allocated budget, but when are you actually going to have to execute on utilizing that budget. You'll see here, as we move further down, we can give you advance notice as well. We don't want any gotchas in the relationship. So what we want you to do is have visibility into things, especially refresh cycles, so you can really see where those new and more expanded costs might be. For example, here in 2024, Mr. Customer, most of the year you're at run rate just with your managed services. But if we really look at June and July, those are 2 expensive months for you where our refresh schedules are coming into play. And this gives you ample time to really understand, how you're going to finance those initiatives once we get there. High priority projects are noted with arrows, Mr. Customer. So these are the ones we're really suggesting you have to do. As you adopt projects in the plan, you'll have this visual cues here, just like you did on the strategy page, letting you know what's been done. But you can see that we're already behind schedule here in 2022 with some open projects that we should have already implemented. So that's going to be an area of focus for us today. And guys, you can tell these different stories up here. If your customer says, hey, I can only focus on high priority projects for the rest of the year, you can redraw that budget and really isolate in on those high priority projects as an example. If you're trying to make a point that they've got too many open projects that they got to get off the nickel on, I would go into the pending project area and isolate on all the projects that are past due. And you're able to show everything that is not adopted and be able to say, look, we've got quite a few projects that we should have already been working on here in September. And we've got a few more coming up in October that we need to really hone in on as well. So we can tell different stories to our customer based on what the requirement is. This is also where we can show them what we've completed over time as well. So as we start completing projects, we can kind of show them the spend side of the equation here as well. This roadmap, again, is really meant to give you a 50,000-foot view, be able to show the big picture here, and we leverage recommendations to really deep dive into the individual projects. So here I might look with my customer and say, hey, we've got quite a few recommendations here within your roadmap. What I really want to focus on is the ones that are upcoming in the next 6 months. As you can see over here on the left-hand side, Mr. Customer, we've got our timeline, our project name, and what category it falls into. This project, Microsoft System Center, will help manage your virtual machines, but we do consider this a medium priority project right now. The cost for that project is $4,200, and it's really going to help us with the growth through the M&A that you have noted on your strategy plan, because we're going to be able to import the VMs from that customer into your environment very quickly, take hold of them, integrate them into AD, and so forth, whatever the steps might be. But really, what we're doing here, guys, is showing the customer what the reinforcing statements are, so they can then make a decision of, hey, Mr. Customer, should we adopt this formally into the plan? Do you need to think about it a little bit? Or what should our next step be? If they say, let's adopt it into the plan, we can adopt it into the plan right here. If they say, let's get a quote on this and move it to the front of the list, I can build a task right here. Capture that action item for myself right on the spot, so I don't lose track of that. If they want to change the timeline on a project when you're in a meeting, you can change the timeline. All the supporting data found under update is already visible to the customer, so we can make those changes on the fly if we agree. So this page allows us to be very interactive with the customer, help them understand the business case behind each project, and then work towards adoption or any changes we need to make. Completed projects will be shown here. So if you want to highlight them in this area versus the roadmap, you can certainly do that as well. And that's really kind of the process of taking your customer through the meeting. Those are the kind of the highlighted areas. Again, it's build an agenda to gain control. Use the dashboard to hit some key points of interest. I went through them all, but I would pick probably 2 or 3 to share with your customer. Use the strategy page in the first meeting to really let them understand 3 critical things. You want to be a better partner to them by better understanding where they're trying to take their business. You want to make sure that you're being held to a standard. And when you make recommendations, that you need to prove that they're actually going to help support a goal or challenge, or they shouldn't be part of your plan. And then we want to make sure that we're showing progress to that plan, so the customer can really understand how technology is supporting the business at large and not just operating as a call center for their organization. So those are kind of the 3 messages you want to convey in that strategy area. We then move to a scorecard to give them a sense of where they stand in the big spectrum of their technology. If necessary to deep dive, we've got our exception report. And then we close out with our budget conversation. Big picture CFO view. This is what your total plan looks like. It spans for a number of years. And these are the projects and services that encompass it. And then when we come into recommendations, we're really working on getting the customer to adopt and accept at least the next 6 months, wherever possible, the next 6 to 12 months into their plan. So that's kind of an overview and best practice on how to use the meeting view to conduct your session with your customer and ways to engage them. I'm going to open up the floor now for Q&A and ask if there's any questions specifically to the content that we had today. Or do you have any questions at all about vCIOToolbox that I can help you with during our Ask Me Anything session? While I'm waiting to see if any questions come in from the group today, I do want to share that we do these coaching sessions every Tuesday. They're open coaching, available to customers or non-customers as well. Again, oftentimes we'll talk about things like theory and other areas. If you look back in our system, when you go into the university, any of our previous recordings are found right down here in our Tuesday open coaching recordings as well. So I've got a question coming in. Can you confirm that when a project is won or adopted in the CRM, it updates vCIOToolbox or vice versa? Also, is best practice to create new project plans in vCIOToolbox that push back to the CRM? So commonly the way it works is we do have 2-way syncs with the PSAs that are on the market today: ConnectWise, Autotask, Synchro, Halo, and Kaseya BMS. With those, we can import in any of the recommendations that or opportunities that you've got in that area. in that area into the system. And then we are able to attach those to our roadmap if they were created first in your PSA or with your quoting tool. More often, though, once you get into run stage with us in vCIOToolbox, you're going to be identifying those projects in vCIOToolbox. You're going to be pushing them back into your PSA and then creating quotes there. Now, while we do have two-way sync there, whether or not we're going to capture one opportunities from the PSA is dictated by how you set up your filters when you turn on the two-way sync. Many of our customers will only capture on and maybe one items because they don't want to bring out 10 years worth of history back into our system. So, Mike, that's something that, and I thank you for your question, that's something that we can definitely look at with you and see what's going to be the best way to set up your configuration, to handle that integration standpoint so you get the data that you want back in our system. I've got another question from John here. Is there plans to add the asset list to the meeting view? Yes, the answer is we are planning on adding the asset list to the meeting view. As many of you know, we're working hard right now on completing a project where we can bring native warranty lookups into the system as well. And certainly when we bring in those native warranty lookups and we know that we are capturing good data into that process, we will absolutely add those asset management lists into the view and make them accessible as part of the meeting view as well. And we're not far away from finishing off those warranty lookups. We were hoping to have it in our release. It's going to be next week, but it looks like it might trail 2 or 3 weeks behind just based on one of the vendors and some errors we're getting on theirs as we kick that one off. But yes, the asset list will become a critical component of the meeting view as well. Thank you for the question, John. Any other questions, folks? I'll leave this up for a couple more minutes, but with that, I want to thank everybody for attending today. Again, we are, we do this every Tuesday. If you have a topic you'd like us to cover, please feel free to send me personally an email at bdoyle@vciotoolbox.com. There's a lot of power within the system. As we've been kicking off these coachings, we've definitely been trying to hit some of the most utilized areas of the system, but there's a lot of nuance that we can dig deep into as well. So if you've got anything specific you'd like a hand with, please feel free to email that over to me and we'll make it a part of one of our upcoming coaching sessions. With that said, I'm not seeing any more questions coming into our Q&A at this point. I want to thank everybody that attended today. Really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to join us here. Hopefully you found something that of value to you. And again, visit our university and under our Tuesday open coaching, you'll be able to see a list of our previous coachings and hopefully you'll see some of the information you might be looking for there as well. Thanks again, folks, and I'll talk to you again next week.